Hi, welcome to Wisdom for Menopause and Beyond, where we actually talk about the kind of courses that we have for women, men, and organisations around planning for menopause. And then the beyond bit is really the insights that we share with you around midlife. So
Today we were talking about, it's a difficult one. It's about control, and it sort of came to me today because I was talking to just some people that are doing a work around my place, and how somebody's quite upset in their relationship because everything they do, even though they're our age, quite young, but their partner is sort of checking up on them, making sure they are where they are for no good cause, if you like. But even if there was a cause, that's another thing. And it's a bit like, and I was also talking to somebody who sort of felt very controlled by their children, by what they did and what they did. So it sort of struck me how much we control others, and I realized how that word sounds. It sounds really like nasty, but I think it sort of comes from a fear or an anxiety of lack of confidence in ourselves, because I'm not talking about the sort of control where somebody kind of has need to check up or they're not sure, but just that sort of I don't want to run my life. I need to run everyone else's life around me as well.
Blimey. Yeah, I mean, and you were kind of describing this, and it almost felt like, well, it sounded quite toxic to me.
Yes.
Because it was for both sides, actually.
Yeah.
Because it was the extent, like, it seemed like, from what they were saying, in a way, there wasn't really anything wrong with a relationship that would make somebody worried about it.
That's right.
But there was one person who was checking up on the other to the extent that they had done something anyway without telling them.
Yes.
Because they said, oh, well, I know they wouldn't let me. So I did it anyway. And you're going,
so they see
how's that beneficial?
No. So you end up having that very strange relationship that because I guess I can almost understand how I can remember feeling like that when I was 20 and 30, or having that feeling of like, but what if that happens and goes wrong? I need to make sure it doesn't because of my own fears or lack of confidence or whatever.
Some kind of fear of failure, I suppose. Let's not start, or then sometimes it's about fear of success. Let's not start something because it either is going to go wrong
or if somebody goes off with somebody else or ruins it. So I need to know that I will definitely be able to nail that down and know where I am for the next however long. And I guess I noticed we talk about midlife a lot, but I noticed that as I got a lot older, I had to just let go of trying to control anybody else.
Yeah.
So it's very much about, everyone has this in yoga in India, they would say, has their dharma.
Yeah.
They follow their own path. And you follow your own path. So you can walk side by side with them, but hanging on to somebody and making them move towards you all the time is then corrupting both lives.
Yeah, and it was great because it was the course that I met my husband on. There was one thing where they always used to say, at one point, they say, for those of you in a relationship, and they kind of said, so how many of you have been trying to change your partner? And, most of the room would put their hands up and they go, well, how's that going? How successful have you been? It's not working, is it? Because it's not going to work. Because their kind of idea was, let's have that thought about, you can't change somebody else. You can only change yourself. So you can change. The only thing you've got in that situation where if you're in a your relationship, whatever it was with that other person, all you can look at is, can I look at my reaction to that?
And I use a great example. I had a skeleton.
Yeah.
You okay?
I am. Obviously, it got stuck in my throat.
I have a friend, a very, very close friend, who her husband drank way too much, way too much. And she used to beg him or determine him to stop drinking. So she used to arrange her whole day around trying to stop him drinking. So she wouldn't go out, she didn't do things because she could limit the drink, she could stop him drinking. And I said, well, why? And she said, I don't want to be his nurse. If he carries on drinking like this, he's going to be very ill. And I don't want to be his nurse. So I want to stop him drinking.
Okay.
And I guess this is a hard one. I do get that. But I said, but you have no right to stop him living his life. He is choosing to do this. He's over 60. He is an intelligent person. He understands what's going on. And this is his choice.
Yeah.
This is his life choice that he does this. But your choice is to stay
or not.
So she made a very clear conversation with him and said, I do not want to be your carer. And he said, I don't want you to be my carer. I've never wanted you to be my carer. I've got enough money, enough investment. If I need a carer, I will do that. But you're my wife, not my carer.
Yeah, so it's interesting when you have that fear and then you kind of bring it out in the open.
And then she sort of had her life and sort of said, this is what he's going to do. And this is, I love him. I'm going to be with him. We have great times until he has his afternoon sleep, because he's going to sleep for the afternoon or whatever. And it's a shame because we can't go out because I don't drive, he can't drive, and so on. So she said, it's limiting, but I will now make some choices. If I want to go out, I'll go out with somebody else. So it was about, once we lost that control. And like you say, with this other person we were talking about, you know, he ended up in a very strange place, very angry, because he felt so invaded by this person. He lost all respect for them.
Yeah, and then the other thing is, so what it's done is it's actually created a situation that she was fearful of.
Yes, that's exactly right.
By actually trying to control it and doing all those kind of things. And
she's driven him away.
So then he has actually said, well, I know she's not going to like it, so I'm going to do it anyway, but not tell her. So then she has created a secret in their relationship. And then where there wasn't one before.
And there was another situation we were talking about, which was very, very common when I was 30, was when couples split up, it was always, you can manipulate your husband in particular, because back in the 70s it was slightly different than it is now with that co-parenting or the idea of
beyond, and beyond, not just the 70s.
Yes. But there was like, don't let the father of the child see his children. You punish him. You stop it. You stop that happening. And I'm fortunate I've seen this go to quite extreme details where people don't know, you know.
Yeah, well, my sister was a probation officer who used to do the reports when people couldn't agree, and she would go in and do the kind of the report, and she would, you know, there was some horror stories about
real
nasty thing. And so not only are you trying to control the other person,
well, you're punishing them,
and you're also controlling your children.
But also, although it's an epiphany is a very rare experience.
There's no roaches around us here. No, that's not happening.
You're not giving somebody the opportunity to run their own life and potentially change and potentially grow and potentially learn new things. So you're limiting their life. You're limiting the
partner has hurt them physically or mentally or abused, then absolutely.
No, we're talking about.
We're just talking about people where the parents just don't get on anymore, and they need to not live together.
And especially if one of them has had an affair, which has nothing to do with the children and nothing to do with being a bad parent in particular.
No.
But they do that and they say, right, now I'm going to punish you. And so I think this idea of control really, I can feel it back, because it does come from fear. It comes from anger or fear. And I feel once we lose that control and lose the anger and fear, we have so much more freedom.
Yeah, and I came across this great thing, you know, Uber Tori. It's a Japanese concept. It says, don't compare yourself to others. Everyone has their own path and timing in life, which fits right in with it.
I think it does.
And it's almost like saying, so you're not doing the same as other couples. You're not doing the same as other people. You're not doing this, you know, you shouldn't. Well, where the hell is that coming from? So actually, your choice in that situation is not about controlling the other person, but like you say, do I still want a relationship with this person? Or do I not? Or, you know, I think it's interesting where I used to kind of have this idea. So if I get really, really annoyed, I'm getting really pissed off, normally at somebody who's cut me up on the motorway and things like that. So it's nothing to do with that person.
No, it's
me. So the first thing is, so why am I reacting that way? Why am I reacting so, extremely in a way? And it is that. So unfortunately, the first thing is to look at, oh gosh, is that something I really don't like about myself? You know, so there's almost things like, so what does that show me about me that I get so annoyed at that? And secondly, is it important, you know, what is going to go on here,
and what you're going to do next.
Yeah.
The other thing that I just thought about when we were talking just then was when you were talking about comparing yourself to others. It got me that people compare the person they're trying to control with others.
Yes.
So you've been a bad husband, and you know, we're not talking about evil people that do terrible things, but you're not as good as them. So I want to control you so you are as good as someone else. So there's trying to make somebody a different shape for lots of different reasons. And I now believe that we all have our own journey, and we have our own discoveries. And you might walk side by side with somebody, but you've got no right to hang on to them.
So I'm thinking that that's the kind of thing that we're talking about. If we're talking about a midlife, how does it change? What's going on with that? And saying you have the opportunity there to look at, because we often talk about this as a time period when hormonally you go back to childhood, but with 40 years experience, whatever. So what choice do I have now? I'm not a child. I don't have to stay here. I don't have to do this. I don't have to keep on reacting in that way. So I have a choice. I can either
grow my own life.
You can either grow my own life, or you, like your friend said, you know, have that conversation. I don't want to do this, and they've sorted it out. And he said, no, I don't want you to do that either. So her fear was, and he said, well, so they had that kind of. So you can have a conversation with somebody. You can look at, is that important to you? Is it a deal breaker for you, that behavior? Is it, you know what, if it doesn't stop, then I am leaving. Or is it actually at the one end of it, when I look at it seriously, is it that important? Do I need to change the way that I react to it?
You can't threaten somebody. No. If you don't, then I will.
No.
It's almost like, I'm so sorry, but I don't feel I can stay if that's important. So you can't. So I think as I've got a lot older, there's a huge freedom. And actually putting that fear down feels so light. It's like I'm no longer scared of that. So I don't need to do it. So I think it's a really, it takes a little bit of because controlling is such a loaded word, but is it at a very small level? Is there a fear of what's going on, or I want to change something or someone else?
And if you fear loss, are you, by trying to control somebody, are you going to create
that loss
situation?
Because there is, you can't change things, but your way of looking at it can change. And that's really what the controlling is.
So we'll leave you with that thought.